Why you care so much? Explain with Dark Souls. Eş get it.
Is when you care too much and it backfires. You give your all, not because you have to, but because it's who you are. You check on people who never check on you. You worry about how you're perceived by others. Stress over tiny inconveniences. And suddenly, your effort becomes expected until one day you just stop showing
It's Dark Souls.
you used to. And that's when someone finally asks, what's wrong? But by then, you're already drained. But then I played the game Dark Souls and it made me realize something. The worst pain actually isn't caring too much, it's caring in the wrong direction. I want you to imagine that you're this character from Dark Souls. Imagine that you were born for the sole purpose of being a god of war.
Bro, the graphics of Dark Souls are so good, bro. So good. You should be careful with how you care for people, because you could give so much of your energy to that person, just sharing everything with them, always caring about what they're gonna do the next steps and whatnot, but at the same time you're neglecting yourself. So you gotta help others, but at the same time, through helping others, you should learn enough lessons to help yourself too.
Powerful and able to conquer anything you want. Your dad has expectations of you only to do as he wants and conquer what he wants. Whatever your dad wants, you do it. Your whole childhood, your dad was totally racist towards dragons. He hated them. He wanted to get rid of the dragons because he wanted to end the Age of Ancients and establish his new Age of Fire, allowing him to rule us.
I mean, look at these graphics, dude. Wouldn't you want to play this game? Like, it's just so beautiful, bro. So beautiful. I searched up the Dark Souls games though. They cost like, this one's $60 if it's Dark Souls 3, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the Dark Souls games are very expensive, but I do want to buy one though.
The supreme deity over everyone, and he saw these immortal dragons as obstacles to his goal. Your dad would even go as far as making an alliance with the dragon in order to destroy the dragons and find out their weaknesses. Now you're fully grown, you've done as your dad wanted you to do and killed many dragons and even became known as a dragon slayer. But now you're old enough to see the bullshit. Why are we killing these creatures? So that my dad can be the ruler of everything and continue his Age of Fire? The Age of Fire won't even last. The fire will fade eventually and no amount of supreme power is gonna stop it. My dad is just clinging on to his power while he has it. He's greedy. You actually kind of admire the dragon's endurance and everlasting strength.
It's kind of tough because, you know, you're just looking at the situation. You're trying to, like, especially with family, right? Because let's say with your dad or your mom or whatnot, you know, you want to take care of them, and you know, sometimes you do stuff that you know is wrong, or that you know that you don't have to do.
To see them die for no good reason.
Yeah, it's a reaction.
You're compelled to transcend your own mortality by following the path of the dragon. It just doesn't make sense to you why things are the way they are. So you leave. You decide that you don't want to fight the dragons anymore. Actually, you'd like to understand them. And in taking the side of the dragons, your dad disowns you. It was a betrayal to leave and be with the dragons, and any memory or record of you is removed from history. Any statues or books mentioning your name have now been erased. You are now following the path of the dragon. You go to the home of the dragons at Archdragon Peak. There you find refuge and a new purpose, becoming an ally and protector of the ancient dragons. This character from Dark Souls, the Nameless King, made a decision. And you know what? It's not in the lore of Dark Souls or anything like that, but I'm absolutely positive that the Nameless King was sitting on that feeling for a long time. He was thinking about doing that for a while. He must have noticed very early on, like, why are we killing these dragons? What did they do to us?
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let go, man. Sometimes there's unhealthy, like truly unhealthy relationships, especially with friends and stuff, or people you meet along the way throughout your journey. Because I remember I had a friend, right? And I learned a lot of lessons from him, and he taught me. He was the one that introduced me to the gym. He was the one that basically put this idea into my head, and that's why I love the gym so much. But at the same time, what happened was he became clingy, right? And he just started to basically become a stalker, and he would call me every day, like 15 to 20 times a day, right? I would talk to him for every day for like 4 hours on the phone. And then eventually, when I was working with my dad and I didn't pick up the phone for 2-3 days because I was working with my dad and I was tired and, you know, didn't really want to talk to him, right? Once I called him back, he just got extremely angry and he was telling me like, hey, so this is what you do with your friends? This is what you do with your friends, huh? I'm like, bro, chill out, man. Chill out. And yeah, at some point after those conversations and after that, after a few more months, he basically let go, and I let go too. Because, if you cannot cut off a friendship, that's an unhealthy friendship, right? So just don't do it in a disrespectful way, but just do it in a way that'll make it clear to the other person that they don't control you. So be careful.
Something like a grand betrayal just doesn't happen suddenly. It grows and manifests over time until it just can't be hidden anymore. He was probably thinking about that for a long time before ever actually doing anything about it, but he also must have known what would happen if he decided to act on his thoughts. He must have already known he would be disowned. And no matter how strong the god of war was on the battlefield, was he really prepared to abandon everything? In the end, he just decided to do it anyway. He decided that regardless of what his dad thinks, regardless of status, regardless of being known as this grand betrayer, it was still what he needed to do. Once you're totally sure of
There's some things that you have to do in life, right? Meaning things that that are the correct thing to do, that somebody else may not realize that it's the correct thing to do, or at least not see the broader picture at that time, and that it's gonna hurt them. But in reality, you have to do it, right? Regardless if you're gonna lose that person, regardless of how much you love that person, if it's gonna better yourself, if it's gonna better them, if it's something that you are 100% sure that you need to do, if you have to let go of people, you have to let go of people. That's how life works, man. We have one life, and action every day is what we need to do. Take action every single day, because tomorrow's not guaranteed.
yourself, then those thoughts won't just go away. They start to change the way you are and the way you act around people. Even if you try to hide how you really feel inside, it will still be obvious that you're conflicted. But now I want to ask you something. If you know what you want to do, but you're scared to do it because of the consequences, will you still do it eventually anyway? The Nameless King knew in his heart that this was the right choice.
I mean, it depends. It really depends at some point. But it shouldn't be at some point. It should be today. If it's something that you could do today, and it's something that you could start working on today, then start working on it, right? Don't delay it. Because if you delay it, and if you worry about the future, then you're going to get absolutely nothing done. Because if you worry about the future today, then you'll get nothing done today. And, many years will pass about you thinking about the future, about the future, and you got nothing done, and you look back at your life, and you're just like, damn, I should have taken that risk. I should have taken that job. Just start doing stuff today. Stop delaying it.
For him to make. And it was still scary, but he knew that eventually he would still make that decision. And when you have something like that in your life, when you know that eventually, yeah, I'll get to it, it's not just a whim, like, yeah, I guess I'll do it if I feel like it. No, it's like, I know I'll do it someday when I'm strong enough, but right now I feel scared and weak. I want to tell you that it's okay to be scared to make changes in your life, but if you're
This reminds me of like when I started the gym, right? Because when you start the gym, you obviously either go and you're either overweight or you're underweight. You don't really know what you're doing, so you're asking the people that work at the gym how to use this machine, how to use that machine. You see like the super buff guy putting like, let's say 50 kg on each side, or like 100 kg on the bench press, and you're just doing the bar. You barely do the bar. But, you have to sort of push yourself, and you have to keep going, and you have to not give up, because eventually, through your action, through that beginning phase where you're going to be scared and uncomfortable, what is going to build you, and you're going to grow. But you just have to not let that feeling of the scaredness, of being worried, of being shy, you don't have to let that, overtake you, because if you let that overtake, then yet again, you're going to get nothing done.
Going to have to deal with the consequences of your actions regardless, then what's the difference if you act on it now versus later? You're really not going to be more prepared later. Actually, you might even be more scared the longer you put it off. If something is sitting inside your heart and it actually kind of pains you physically to like try to just keep it hidden, why not just get it out there so that you don't have to sit in this feeling of like sickness inside and like anger and like frustration? The people that you're scared are gonna find out are just gonna find out anyway eventually. So I say that if it's important to you, then get it out there. For some reason,
that's true. If you want to do something, if you want to say something to your parents, if you want to sit down and talk with them, if you want to sit down and talk with your loved one, or or something, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, and you have to tell them something important, then it's better to tell them now before you do something you'll regret, and then they won't understand why you did that thing, right? It's better to just let it go, spill it all out, and it's going to be much better for you. Much, much better. It'll help you much more. It'll help you even grow. Your parents, your wife, your husband, whoever it is, they're going to help you to become better. And if they don't, at least you got another weight off your chest, right?
I imagine the Nameless King as a little boy, and I imagine, like, what if he went to his dad and was like, why are we killing these dragons? What if he kept showing his concern and almost disapproval of his dad's actions? Then would it have changed the trajectory of the events of Dark Souls? And if he's just a little boy and not a full-grown god of war, Gwyn would see it as less of a grand betrayal for having these thoughts, and instead more like he just needs to correct his son's philosophy now. Or maybe Gwyn would have been like, shut up boy, you don't know anything. And then he thinks about it more, and then his heart starts to change too, and he stops trying to kill the dragons, and maybe even stops being so hyperfixated on his age of fire. Or maybe he's the kind of dad that just didn't care what anyone said. But
if you just keep digging into the other person, if you know what they're doing is wrong, and you just keep telling them, why do this, why do not be scared to say it, because you shouldn't be scared to say it. You should say what you think, then eventually they might change, or they might not. You never know. But you should never force change upon someone. Only tell them the truth. Only tell them what actually matters. So never judge another person. Never try to change them. Because it won't actually make change. It'll probably close them off even more to any suggestion you might give them.
if little Nameless King said things to him and still let him know he didn't feel good about killing these dragons, then at the very least, his son leaving to be with the dragons wouldn't be such a grand betrayal. It would be more like, yeah, I kinda saw that coming actually. If you know your truth, and it's not just a whim, and it's not something with bad intentions, then nobody is gonna be able to keep you quiet about it. It doesn't matter if it's your dad or the mass of people around you. If you believe something to be true deep in your heart, then at that point, you're not even trying to not give a fuck what they think. You actually still do care what they think. But at a certain point of trying to hide it, it just comes out of you, and it's almost like you're forced to not care anymore. Because caring...
That's true. That's true. Like, there's a lot of times that I've sat down with my parents or whoever else, and we were talking about what I'm going to do in the future, because I'm honestly not sure what I'm going to do in the future. The idea is to become an entrepreneur and whatnot. So I've got many, many things that I would like to do. But yeah, if there's something that you truly want to do, and if it's going to benefit you, and if it's not going to hurt the other person, and you could do it, and you could start it from today, then do it today. You have no excuse. You literally have no excuse but just to do it today. Stop being scared, guys. Stop. Because if we do that, then that's exactly what they want. Exactly what the governments and what the elites are preaching. Laziness.
Is literally killing you on the inside. In the 1400s and 1500s, there was this guy named Martin Luther. No, not that one. A different guy. He was a deeply devout monk who genuinely feared God and desperately wanted to be obedient, orthodox, and correct. He didn't want to rebel or betray authority, and spent years trying not to act on what was growing inside of him. When he started noticing contradictions between scripture and the church's practice of selling stuff, essentially turning forgiveness into a transaction, his first feeling inside wasn't outrage, it was self-doubt. He assumed he must be wrong, so he stayed quiet.
Right.
He prayed more, confessed obsessively, fasted, and tried to crush the discomfort rather than express it. But the longer he remained silent, the heavier it became. What started as a religion...
That was the wrong thing to do. What he should have done, or I'm not sure what he did, but what he should have done is said the truth to them. Said the truth that what you are doing is unholy, what you are doing is unfaithful. Stop doing it.
Just internal concern turned into physical anxiety and moral suffocation. Silence itself started to feel like a lie. By the time he finally wrote and published his book in 1517, it wasn't an act of rage or ambition. It was the moment when not speaking felt worse than exile, punishment, or death. His so-called betrayal or act against what everyone else was doing wasn't driven by ego or hatred, but by the realization that loyalty to an institution had come into conflict with loyalty to truth, and that continuing to hide what was in his heart was no longer survivable. Now, I know you might be thinking, like, well, yeah, if I was the Nameless King, then obviously I would do the same thing. Obviously, I would betray my father, too. That's a big, important thing in it.
We could all be put in these tough situations, but truly, would we actually do what they did? Or will we just close our mouths and stop and not say the truth? right? And just be too scared to speak. That's the true thing. And the only way you can know that is if a similar scenario happens to you. Oh, that's the only way.
Makes sense why he did it. But what about someone like me? Someone that just kind of goes through life and I don't really have the same big problems like the Nameless King did, but I still feel like I care too much. Well, everything seems obvious when you're looking back.
Okay,
doesn't
looks
it? Life
interesting.
can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. We're not gods of war, but the feeling is still the same. You go to class and there's a girl you have a crush on, but you just get so nervous you can't go up and talk to her. You don't want to say something stupid.
Listen up. This to me hits home big time, right? Because when it comes to stuff like that, right? And it comes to basically talking to females, right? That's much harder for me to do than it is to do, I think, for a normal guy. Because I had some stuff go on when I was a kid, in school and stuff. But the reality is, you shouldn't be scared to meet new people. You should try to pinpoint what exactly is causing that anxiety with you. If you need to go to a therapist, go to a therapist. You might be able to do that. But in reality, what you should try to plant in your mind is what is truly the worst thing that can happen? Absolutely nothing. What, she says no, right? Except like the super crazy ones that'll make accusations. Oh, you touched me inappropriately or something like that. Something stupid, right? But yeah, don't be scared to meet new people. Don't be scared to, because you're not gonna. You should take that idea out of your head that you're gonna go to meet someone to become your partner, and more like, oh, okay, I want to build more bonds with people, so I'm meeting new people to make friends. That's what you should put in your head as an idea. And honestly, you should also stop caring what other people think about you. Really stop caring about what other people think about you. Just go to the gym, become better yourself, become the best absolute version of yourself you can, and just keep going. Eventually, all of these things will come to you through your hard work, through your discipline, through your faith, and through never giving up, which is the most important thing, because you are one step away from getting what you want, from being where you would like to be. And if you truly believe in it, if you truly put all your heart and soul into it, there is no way you can fail, because you'll fail and then you'll get up. You'll learn the lessons and why you failed, and then you'll fail again, and then you'll learn the lessons from that time that you failed, and then you'll fail again, and then you'll learn the lessons again, and then fail again. And then eventually, boom, you'll hit that success, right? And once you hit that success, it'll just skyrocket from there.
And she's too pretty anyway, I can't talk to her. And every day you don't act, you're already living through the rejection in your head. You know what you want to do, but you feel your chest tighten because you're already imagining the consequences. You don't speak up in class even though you know the answer. You stay quiet around your family because it's easier than explaining yourself. You keep doing something you don't respect.
I'm also guilty about this too. I've done this too. I'm very quiet, and I feel like they don't deserve to be burdened with my problems. They already have enough problems, and what for me to tell them that I have extreme anxiety, that I get extreme anxiety when I would go talk to people or whatnot. No, I don't think that they deserve to hear that. But I mean, eventually, you should talk to them. Don't do what I do. We should try to become better, all of us.
Because stopping would disappoint people. But why do we keep doing this to ourselves? It's validation. If you're like me, you probably seek permission to do anything in your life. Permission to do this thing, permission to be accepted, permission to just be okay. You're always looking to someone else to tell you like, yeah, sure, yes, do it, yes, you're good. That's what happened with the Nameless King too.
Not really. I didn't really have this problem. I remember I would do things, like especially with YouTube and stuff. I never waited for anybody to tell me, yeah, make a YouTube channel or do that. I just really like doing any sort of hobby that I do, and I didn't really seek validation for it. I would just do it, right? So that wouldn't be a problem for me.
He didn't act on his heart until he was ready to accept that he would not be validated anymore. He would not be accepted by his father. Everyone would disapprove of what he was doing. But at a certain point, the pain of not doing it was greater than the pain of doing it. So knowing this, that our thoughts of always caring too much about what other people think comes from seeking validation from others, we can start to do things that directly counteract the need for validation. I want you to get rid of this idea in your head that the scale of the problem makes a difference in how much you should care. I mean to say that just because
I think the one thing that I do honestly regret is when I had my original YouTube channel. This was many, many years ago. And I would upload videos. I would make TikToks, I think, for it too. And this was many, like when we were like kids, we were like 10, around 10, that age. And that's when I started that YouTube channel. And eventually, like, because the kids at the school there, they would bully me, right? And they would get the videos and they would edit them and make them funny, and then they would play them in class. Then because I cared too much about what they thought, I would get super shy and I would get very stressed. So I eventually just not deleted them, but I unlisted all of my videos, and I never let them and I never made a video from that day on until many years later. Many, many years later. I think until high school, when I was starting to do that challenge to do an interview with FDS.
Someone's problems might seem bigger than yours, it doesn't mean that they are more important. I think that every problem, every issue in life should be dealt with the utmost care and attention. I think that's a big key in living a good life. And that means not half-assing something or just letting it go just because it's not as big as other things in your life. Everything in your life matters. Now, every time, no matter if it's big or small, I want you to just notice when your body and your heart tells you to do something and you don't do it, and the way that it makes you feel. There have been a lot of times in my life when someone says something rude to me and I actually feel like something rises inside my chest, like I need to say this rude thing back to them, but I don't. Or when you see that really pretty girl.
Well, I mean, listen, personally, I don't think if somebody's being rude to you, you should be rude back, right? If you choose silence, then it's better, and if you're patient with them and if you're kind to them, because the people that do these things, to me at least, or that the people that do these things, for me, they have more problems than what we do. And that's why they do that. They were either mistreated as a child themselves, a lot worse than what we were, or they were just not raised by their parents because their parents would put them in afternoon school for the whole evening and they would just got this behavior from the other kids. And a lot of other factors play in with this. But yeah, I'm personally never ever rude to somebody else, because even regardless if they're rude to me, because I don't care what they say. They could say anything to me and that's fine. I just ignore them. But if you're rude back, then that's not going to solve anything. It really isn't.
And like your brain wants to go, but your body keeps you from moving at all to go actually talk to her. I think it's these kinds of times we need to pay the most attention to, because just being aware of your feelings when they happen already helps you to act according to what you actually want to do. But the main advice I want to give you is just try to have fun with your life. I used to think too that the most important thing in my life was talking to this girl and then I'd be happy. But then you actually manage to talk to the girl and it's like, well, all of my problems didn't go away. Whatever it is you're chasing.
No. Yeah, that's true. Don't think that once you fix a problem, all the issues are going to go away, because all of us have many, many issues throughout our lives. Many, many things that we need to fix, many, many things that we need to get off our chest. And solving one of them will definitely not solve the others. So just keep trying to grow yourself without being scared.
Or that might give you anxiety just thinking about, once you finally achieve it, it's gonna be laughably anticlimactic. The things that gave you the most stress and that you lost sleep over thinking about way too much, they finally turn out the way you wanted them to, and like nothing even changes. You're still the same person. The reason I'm saying this is because if you can see how insignificant things really are, and you know that once this thing that's stressing you out is finally done, then it's just gonna mean nothing to you anymore. And what the heck is the point of stressing over something that you'll forget about the actual second that you get it over with? Why would you?
That's true. It's like with school and tests, right? You're worrying about that test, or about what grade you're gonna get because you need a specific grade to pass the class. Let's say there's no point in stressing about it. If you just do what you're supposed to do, if you just study what you're supposed to study, then you should be fine. But if you stress about it, it's definitely not gonna make it better. Finding the balance and actually letting go of the stress is a bit more difficult, but once you manage to flip that switch in your mind, then you should be good.
Let yourself suffer in that anxiety for longer instead of just ripping off the band-aid or accepting the feeling and allowing it to pass through you. If you already know that you're gonna be choosing is how long you're gonna suffer beforehand. So just try to have some humor in your life. Look at your problems and just laugh at them, like, I can't believe I'm in this situation right now. Zoom out and imagine.
That's one of the lessons that I got taught in the army, right? Because any like through the army, I got taught that any issue you have, because basically the army as a whole, they're just serious, but at the same time they're serious about things that really just don't matter. And at the beginning, of course, you're stressed and whatnot, but throughout my journey in the army, I learned to just not really care about the problems or about how many days I'm gonna stay in the army, because there's no point in stressing. Why stress? It's not gonna accomplish something better. It's not gonna make you better. At most, it's just gonna keep eating you inside, and it's just gonna make you sick.
Yourself in the future looking back at how you're feeling right now, like, oh, he used to be so stressed about this small thing that actually doesn't mean anything to me anymore. When I say have humor in your life, I'm not saying don't care. I'm saying care deeply, but just don't panic. Because isn't that like the main problem and maybe the reason you clicked on this video? It feels like you want to care and you think caring is a good thing, but doing it too much and stressing over it is actually kind of hurting and draining you, isn't it? But caring isn't the problem. Panic is. Give things your best effort. Be honest. Say what you need to say. Do the thing.
That's true. If you've tried your best with something that will help the other person, or if you tried your best with a friend, with a relationship of some sort, and let's say you couldn't get it done, or you did get it done, don't stress over it, because stress is just going to make it worse. It might even make you say or do things that you don't mean to do. Just go through it with wisdom, keep praying, have faith in Jesus Christ, or whatever your faith is.
You're scared to do, but once you've done it, don't torture yourself with it. Just rip the band-aid off and then be done with it. Like that girl you have a crush on in your class. You've already lived through the rejection 100 times in your head, and you haven't even walked over yet, stressing over something that hasn't even happened and might not even happen. Learn the difference between noise and signs. Most of the things that give you anxiety are noise.
That's true. That's very, very true. It's basically about the super little things that really don't matter. Because if you care about those things that matter little, then or the things that basically won't change something, and if you stress about those, which I used to do, then it's just yet again it's gonna eat you. It's gonna eat you from the inside.
Off moments, imagined outcomes, social embarrassment, treating a single mind your entire life, but most of the time it won't. You'll do the thing and it'll be anticlimactic. You'll survive the embarrassment, you'll forget the fear. That's the stuff you can laugh off.
That is true. That is true, because to do the thing that has been stressing you, or once you get it done, eventually if you do it again and again and again and again, then you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. But just keep doing stuff.
There are some feelings that don't go away. The ones that come back every time you avoid something. The ones that sit in your chest when you stay quiet. The ones that keep showing up no matter how much you try to distract yourself. Those aren't noise. That's your sign. The nameless king ignored that sign for probably years. Martin Luther ignored it for years. And most of us do the same thing. We don't act because we're waiting to feel ready. But readiness doesn't come before honesty. It comes after. Most things don't deserve your anxiety. But the feelings that keep coming back, those deserve your honesty. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. If you like Dark Souls and self-improvement, I have a new
fire video though. Very good video.